Politicians promise it. News channels debate it. Voters demand it. We talk endlessly about paying down the national debt. But what if I told you the truth almost no one says out loud? Governments were never meant to pay off their debt. Not now, not in the future, not ever. That sounds reckless, sounds completely irresponsible, like a system designed to fail. But in reality, the entire global economy depends on governments not paying what they owe. To understand why, we need to shatter a powerful myth. When you or I take on debt, the goal is always repayment. You borrow, you pay interest, and you eventually clear the balance. Simple. But governments don't operate like households. They operate like systems. And systems don't eliminate debt, they circulate it. The story of modern government debt didn't start with social programs or welfare states. It started with war. Back in the late 17th century, England had a big problem. It needed a ton of money to fight France. Gold was scarce, and raising taxes was politically dangerous. So, instead of paying for the war outright, the government borrowed money. In exchange for interest payments backed by future taxes, lenders financed the state. And then something revolutionary happened. The government realized it didn't actually need to repay the principal. It only needed to keep up with the interest payments. As long as lenders believed that interest would keep flowing, the debt itself could exist forever. That single idea changed history. Debt stopped being temporary. It became permanent. Over time, governments learned an even more powerful lesson. Paying off the debt wasn't just unnecessary, it was dangerous. To see why, you have to look at what government debt actually is today. U.S. Treasury bond isn't just an IOU from the government. It's the very foundation of global finance. Banks use these bonds as collateral to lend money. Pension funds depend on them for stable returns. Insurance companies hold them for safety. Central banks around the world treat them like cash. In the financial world, government debt isn't seen as a liability, it's seen as the safest asset on earth. So what would happen if governments suddenly paid it all back? That asset would simply disappear. Banks would lose their collateral. Pension funds would lose their stability. Markets would lose their anchor. The result wouldn't be prosperity, it would be chaos. That's why governments don't aim to eliminate debt, they aim to roll it over. Rolling over debt means issuing new bonds to pay off the old ones as they mature. The principal amount never disappears. It just gets pushed forward in time. This isn't some secret conspiracy, it's standard public policy. When a government bond matures, the state doesn't dip into a giant savings account to pay it off. It just issues a new bond. The debt survives. The interest continues. The system stays alive. This is exactly why the United States, despite owing trillions of dollars, has no serious plan to pay it down. It's why Japan's debt can exceed 250% of its entire economy, yet its interest rates remain near zero. Why? Because investors aren't waiting for repayment. They're waiting to renew the deal. For them, government debt isn't a loan. It's a subscription, a steady stream of interest, backed by the full taxing power of the state. Of course, this entire system works because of one thing: confidence. As long as investors believe governments will keep paying the interest forever if needed, the debt remains stable. The moment that belief breaks, everything changes. We've seen it happen. Look at Greece during the European debt crisis. The market suddenly decided the country's debt was no longer trustworthy. Borrowing costs exploded overnight. The government didn't just become irresponsible in a day. Confidence simply vanished. The result was brutal austerity, mass unemployment, and a lost generation. The lesson was crystal clear. Debt doesn't collapse when the numbers get big. It collapses when belief disappears. That's why governments focus obsessively on their credibility, not on repayment. They manage perceptions. They signal stability. They constantly reassure the markets, not because the markets aren't asking, "Will you ever pay this back?" They're asking, "Can we trust you to keep paying the interest?" Central banks play a critical role here. When markets get shaky, central banks step in. They buy government bonds. They inject liquidity. They stabilize confidence. In doing so, they are literally creating new money. Every bond a central bank buys is paid for with newly created currency. One institution's liability becomes another's asset. And this brings us to an uncomfortable truth. There is no such thing as debt-free money. Every dollar in your pocket exists because someone, somewhere, owes it. If governments actually paid off all their debt, they would destroy the very money supply our economy depends on. Less debt would mean less money would mean deflation, and deflation would freeze spending, investment, and growth. So, instead of paying debt down, governments carefully manage its expansion. Not recklessly, but rhythmically. Debt becomes the very heartbeat of the modern economy. It grows slowly enough to maintain trust, but it's large enough to fuel the markets, and permanent enough to anchor the entire system. This is why promises from politicians to eliminate the national debt are mostly just political theater. The real goal is not zero debt. The real goal is sustainable debt. Debt that can be serviced. Debt that markets desire. Debt that never forces a final repayment. But this system has a major consequence that few people discuss. The interest payments don't flow evenly through society. They flow upward, flow from taxpayers to large institutions, from workers to asset holders, from the general public to the wealthy few who own the debt. Over time, debt becomes a powerful mechanism of wealth transfer not between countries, but between classes. This is a key reason why global debt and global inequality so often rise together. The system is designed to reward those who hold the debt and pressure those who fund it. And yet, the system continues, because no single government can exit it alone. If one country tried to truly pay off all its debt, its currency would skyrocket, its exports would collapse, and its economy would suffer a devastating blow. Debt isn't just financial, it's geopolitical. The global economy is a closed loop of promises, confidence, and rolling obligations. Everyone owes, everyone holds, no one ever truly settles the bill. So, the next time you hear someone say that governments are irresponsible for not paying off their debt, remember the deeper reality: they aren't failing to repay. They're doing exactly what the system requires of them. Because the day governments actually pay off their debt is the day the modern financial system, as we know it, ends. And until that day comes, debt will continue doing what it was always designed to do. Not disappear, but circulate. If this changed how you see government debt, subscribe for more. History helps explain the complex systems we live inside and the ones we will inherit. Thanks for watching.